Are you thinking about bringing a pet home into the family? So I have 2 dogs that came to us in different ways. First, we ended up adopting Steve and Tyler. My family happened to be at an adoption expo, and we were just looking around at all the different animals, and this giant dog came bolting over to me and just rested his head right on my shoulder, and he did not leave our side for over 20 minutes. That was it. We were not going home without him. So moving on to Zara, I actually work with a rescue group in our area. We do everything from finding lost animals and finding their families to finding abandoned animals and nursing them back to health, fostering, and finding them a forever family. So with Zara, she was actually found in a field when she was a puppy left to fend for herself. She was malnourished, she was scared, she had absolutely no training at all. Even after going through all of this with her, we were supposed to adopt her out, but she ended up winning our hearts and became Steven's best friend, so now she's stuck with us. So there are many different options into choosing which way you want to bring a pet home. You can go through a breeder or a pet store, but in my opinion, I think adoption from a shelter or a rescue is the best option out there. So according to NoKillAdvocacyCenter.org, there's a 32% death rate of all dogs and cats that go to them, but only 1% of all animals are actually irremediably suffering. So when you do decide to bring a pet home, you want to make sure that the pet is healthy and has a great temperament. So when these animals are actually brought into the shelter, they're socialized, they go through a health evaluation. Anything that comes up in that health evaluation, they actually get treated for, and they are trained. And though most of the animals that do come into a shelter are actually house trained. So the overall cost for adopting from a shelter or a rescue, remember that health evaluation that I was talking about? Shelters actually include that into their adoption fee. And if you are looking for a purebred, which most people actually are, caninejournal.com/adopt-don't-shop records that 30% of animals that are brought in are purebreds. So the benefits, according to caninejournal.com/adopt-don't-shop, on adopting a pet from a shelter, you're saving a life, you can find a fully trained dog, you'll know that dog's personality, rescues are less expensive, you have lots of choices, and adopting actually helps fight puppy mills. Mind you, this does go to all animals in shelters in general. So some surprising facts that many people don't think about when they're purchasing from a breeder or a pet store. You do not know that pets' health, you don't know their temperament. They end up being overbred, and with them being overbred, they're actually taking it away from their litters and their mothers way too soon, which is the key point in their socialization for starting out in life. And then they're also put into poor conditions. So there's so many animals that are in a breeder's, or I should say puppy mills, because that's where they end up getting them from. They have horrible conditions. Their cages aren't getting cleaned that often because there's too many pets there. With the cages not being clean, most of these pets actually end up getting sick. And with those pets getting sick, they actually spread it along to that whole area. So any pets that are in the vicinity of that one sick pet will become sick. So the overall cost of an animal from a breeder or a pet store, you have to pay X amount of money for that pet. But you also have to pay for any medical issues that arise. You have to pay for vaccinations, and in most areas, it is mandatory to have that animal sterilized. So also, if you are looking for that purebred, if you go through a breeder or a pet store, you can actually pay upwards of thousands of dollars for that purebred. But you also have to pay for any medical issues. So you have to pay for their vaccinations, you have to pay for their sterilizations, you have to pay to get them trained. So according to ASPCA.org/animal homelessness/shelter intake and surrender/pet statistics, 34% of dogs and 3% of cats are actually purchased from a breeder. And according to ASPCA's National Rehoming Survey, the most common reasons owners rehome their pets, accounting for 47% of dogs and 42% of cats, were problems defined as problematic behaviors, aggressive behaviors, they grew larger than expected, or health problems that they couldn't handle. So when you go into a shelter, they give you actually see a list that's on their crates. So with the list, they go over their overall health, their temperament, you're gonna know their size, you're gonna know if they're good with children, they give you a list of all these things. You're not gonna get that from a breeder, and you would never know that from going to a breeder or a pet store. So I'm asking you, if you do decide to bring a pet home, take a look into a shelter and you'd be surprised by the love and knowledge that they can provide you. And I hope you do choose to save a life, and that the statistics I have given you about shelters being more adamant on the animal's overall health, temperament, and cost will help you make an informed decision.